My husband told me that he wanted us to open our relationship and explore a little even after he told me that it ruined his last relationship, and now I'm thinking about opening my wallet and paying for a divorce lawyer. I, 33M, and my husband, 33M, let's call him E, have been married for over a year and have been together for over 3 years. E was previously married for 8 years. During that time, he and his ex-husband had an open marriage but eventually divorced amicably. While they were finalizing their divorce, E and I matched on Tinder. We spent almost 3 months just talking online every day through text and FaceTime before we finally met in person. When we did meet, it was while E was searching for an apartment so he could move out of the house he and his ex owned together. From that day on, we became inseparable and eventually made our relationship official. I must say, this is the best relationship I've ever had. We do everything together. We're both physically active but also enjoy being couch potatoes, whether it's playing video games all night or watching TV. Last year, E got me into RuPaul's Drag Race, and now we spend our Friday nights waiting for the latest episode. Go Jewel Sparkles. In the early stages of our relationship, we discussed what kind of relationship we wanted. I made it clear that I didn't want to be in an open relationship because it's just not for me. He agreed and said he wanted a monogamous relationship, as that was one of the factors that led to the failure of his previous marriage. We also discussed his preferences regarding his fantasy, which I believe is called a stag or something kink, not sure which term applies. He shared that he fantasizes about me being intimate with another man, may it be me using or being used by someone else. I admitted that it would be difficult for me to fulfill that fantasy, but I was willing to find a compromise. So, we introduced toys and began incorporating talk about scenarios involving other people during it. This approach seems to work, as he appears to be satisfied. Over a year later we got married. It was a mid-size wedding, around 80 guests at a nice venue. Around 45 guests on his side and 35 with mine, mostly family and a few friends. We went on a nice honeymoon to Hawaii, staying an entire week there. Earlier today, E and I made plans for some bedroom time. While we were in bed and I was scrolling through TikTok, kind of our thing before bedroom time, he asked me a question. You probably already know what it is from the title of the post. He asked if I'd be willing to open up the marriage for a threesome. He then went on a whole speech, encouraging me to keep an open mind and think about it. Once he was done, I immediately said no and asked him what his reasons were for wanting it. He gave me 2 reasons. Fun. Excitement. Seems the same to me though. I asked him if our bed life was boring and if that's why he wanted to do that. He said no and that he just wants to spice things up a little. He also mentioned that he had been meaning to ask me this for a while but got too scared to do so. He has been wanting a threesome for a while. I argued, saying, it's boring for you. You wouldn't want to spice things up if it weren't. I told him that we were becoming incompatible and suggested that we might need to consider being legally separated. Even though I love you and this is going to suck, it's better to end this now because it's something I cannot fulfill. It's against my morals, and even if I did it once, it would kill my mental health to go against my principles just to please you. He got quiet and eventually said that we should go to couples counseling. I told him that there's nothing wrong with him. A lot of gay and straight couples have open relationships, even polyamorous ones, but that's not for me or something I want to be a part of. I said it's better to end it now before it reaches a point where you might resent me for not fulfilling your fantasy. After that, we just lay there in bed, deep in our thoughts, and then he went to the store to grab something or cool off. What do you think we should do? Update. Since my last post, I've been sleeping on the couch for the past 2 nights because I didn't want to be around him. Last night, when I got home from work, my husband and I spent nearly 3 hours discussing our relationship and the threesome he wanted us to engage in. I was very emotional throughout the conversation, and while I may have forgotten some details, I remember the important points clearly. He was very apologetic after seeing how his request/offer upset me, and he assured me that he didn't mean to make a big issue of it. I started asking him questions. I asked if there was a specific person he had in mind for us to engage with in the activity, and he said, no. I also asked if he had slept with anyone else since we've been together, and he said, no. I asked him if something had happened or changed that made him want to have a threesome. He said, no, but he did mention that he wanted to ask just in case my stance on threesomes or non-monogamy had changed. I asked him again to clarify what he meant by spicing things up, and he explained that we've been having vanilla lovemaking, which is why he made the suggestion. I told him that there's nothing wrong with vanilla stuff, but there are other ways to spice things up without involving non-monogamy, like the adult toys we use from time to time. I then reiterated that I'm seriously considering separation because of his requests. I also reminded him of our plan to buy a house later this year or early next year, and eventually adopt a child to raise as our own. I explained that open marriages have a high failure rate, and I don't want to adopt a child only for them to experience us separating because our marriage failed. While this isn't the case for all open marriages, I'm not willing to take that risk, and I don't want that dynamic in our relationship. He then apologized again and said that his fantasies were just that, fantasies, and that he could live without them being fulfilled and he can just get off and be back to normal. He also told me that he still loves me so much and wants to spend the rest of our lives together. I expressed to him that my trust is shaken, and it's going to take a lot of work for us to get back to where we were. He then suggested couples counseling again, and I agreed. I also brought up the idea of seeing intimate therapist either for him individually or for both of us to help us better understand each other and possibly explore new fantasies that we can enjoy together without involving non-monogamy. He then promised not to bring up anything about non-monogamy. I want to thank everyone who responded to my post. I understand that some of you hoped for a different outcome, but I didn't want to end the relationship solely because of fantasies. I truly hope I made the right choice and won't end up with a broken heart down the line. Hopefully, this will be the last update on this topic, but if there's more, I'll be sure to reach out again. I'd also love to hear everyone's take on this. Did I make the right choice by not ending the relationship outright? Edit: to clarify, when I said, my trust is shaken, I was referring to our relationship. I'm questioning everything we've planned together, including whether we should move forward with the house and having children. I don't want to deepen our commitments if this is something he strongly feels about and cannot compromise on or live without. In that case, those plans would definitely need to be reconsidered.